Did Martin Luther King come to your church?
No, he never came to.
Days?
No, he never came to my church.
But you heard him speak.
New Pilgrim Baptist Church. I think it might be in that introduction I gave Lola.
Right.
I heard him speak the first time he came to Birmingham. That was 55, right after the bus boycott at 16th Street Baptist Church.
Okay.
The rest of the times I heard him mass meetings. And that's wherever he was. 2 times he spoke for Men Day at New Pilgrim Baptist Church. That was a special occasion. I heard him there. Many times in the mass meetings, because I went to all the mass meetings. The last time he spoke was at the City Auditorium, and that was when he was had declared war on, not war, but had spoke out against the Vietnam involvement. That was his last speech.
67, yeah.
Last speech he made in Birmingham. He was devouring to tell the federal government that they were wrong, you know.
So it sounds as if every time King was in town, you were there.
Never missed the opportunity. Never missed it.
Is that right?
Never missed it.
Was he? What kind of feel that you have as you listen to one of the King?
I was drawn to him. I guess just psychologically or automatically drawn to him because of his charisma, then the depths of his speeches. And I was always fascinated by him, and still is whenever I hear him or read his work. You cannot argue with him. You find it very hard to debate with him. You've got to be a real staunch philosopher to debate the philosophers of Dr. King. I'm always fascinated that he's one person that I just can't, and with my limited knowledge, I cannot critique him.
Right.
He's very difficult to disagree with him. The next thing, he was a very warm person. Now, I found that out twice. I had encountered to just really touch him, so to speak. We were at the Smith and Gaston's lounge. And that's when all the children were in jail. And he came and all of us were down there, you know. I would leave Elmer High School, headed for the movement meeting. I would never go home. It was understood where I was on my way to the movement meeting.
Every day?
Every day, as long as the mass meeting was, I was going. So we were down in the lounge, sitting down and having, not alcohol, but coffee, cokes, sandwiches, you know. And the lounge was just like this with people. And all of a sudden, he came through. And I've never seen people just run up and pull on the person. Dr. King, my daughter Gina. Dr. King, my son, Dr. King. And he was just as nice, just as warm. He didn't pull away. He didn't seem fretted. You know, he'd tell me, yes, ma'am, I understand. We were working on that. No frustration. And then a friend of mine knew him personally, so she said, Goree, come on, let's make the pictures. I said, no, give me the video. So I videoed the girls with him. You know, we weren't girls, but the young ladies with him. I videoed them while they were standing up there with Dr. King.
You mean you took motion pictures?
Yes.
Is that right?
Sure did. And,
do you have any of those?
I guess Doris still had.
Yeah.
But she, you know, I had the video camera. She said, come on. I said, oh, Lord, I'm just too excited. And then that last night when he was at the auditorium, that was the last time I saw him. She went up to I was always with 2 or 3 same people. And she went up to the car to speak to him. And he said, hey, girl, where your pastor? She said, I don't know. I thought he was here. And by that time, she was shorter than I was. And I just reached all over her big, tall, and reached down and shook his hand, you know. And I teased her about it. I said, girl, I almost knocked you in that car trying to shake Dr. King's hand. So I shook his hand. And then when he was at 6th Avenue, one night he was autographing his books, and I bought a book and he autographed it. So I never missed an opportunity for wherever Dr. King was. I have 2 regrets. I didn't go to Selma, and I didn't go to March on Washington. That's 2 regrets I have now. I wish I had been a part of it.
You attended the mass meetings on a regular basis.
Regular basis.
How would you describe a mass meeting?
I think it's one of those phases in history that you read about, but you can't believe it until you encounter it. First of all fear is gone. I've never felt afraid. Death never. If we had died in a church, I don't think I would have cared. If the bomb had gone off, you're just that happy and you're just that elated. So it's not often you get that kind of feeling where you step over a police foot if it's in the way, or the church is being guarded, or people are out there. You just don't care. So I think the removal of fear is something that I had not experienced, and I doubt if I'd ever have that kind of emotional feeling again. Another thing that amazes me about the movement now, retrospectively, that it was something there for everybody. You would go in and first thing in the afternoon, and if you hadn't eaten in the basement of the church or the annex where it was, you had fish frying, you had hot dogs, and you had hamburgers with smelling going up your nose. And so that's that atmosphere right there. Then after that, you go upstairs for your meeting, and you had an old-fashioned prayer meeting. So for all of us who love old-fashioned prayer meetings, where folks actually say your prayers, the Baptist hymns and the long meter hymns, you had prayer meetings. And after that, so that satisfied that element. After that, you had the Alabama Christian Movement Choir taking a stand. So if you're a person who likes gospel, you got gospel at its best.
That's the place to be.
That's the place to be. Collection time, you've got Gardner, Reverend Gardner, who was a comedian by nature. And so when he got ready to take up collection, it was almost like having Eddie Murphy. He would just keep you laughing, always some kind of joke. And he'd take up collection, so it's always something, especially the joke on the white folks. And so you just tickle, After that, nothing is never the same. Each personality comes. Ralph Abernathy would take the podium, the podium. Tell this little hickey, point to the microphone. All them tea sippers, talking about people who got along with white people, you call them tea sippers. And he would come along and tell them I bathe with white ivory soap and I don't stink and all that. Well, that kind of down-home spawn talk really got the people involved. Right. And finally, when Dr. King came out, you already happy, and then it's like putting the icing on the cake, because he comes in with all the intellectual, all of the, not only intellectual, but the charisma he had and the power to speak. By that time,
he put it all together.
Yeah, he put it all together, satisfied every one of us, because the folks know how to go ahead, doc, say it, doc, But you just had such a variety, and you leave out singing "We Shall Overcome." It was almost, maybe I should say a spiritual explosion or a spiritual high.
Now, were teaching, why were you involved at the level that you were?
I felt that after 3 o'clock, my time was down. I had no fear of a job after 3 o'clock. Some were even bolder. The younger people are, the less fear they have. Some people walked off the job, but they had to be younger people.
Or some did walk off the job?
Some, especially in my government, you had that type of number of people that walk off. And then you had a few teachers who went to jail. Or at least I know one who went to jail. That was Katie Johnson. I don't know whether we all got her before she passed. And Katie went to jail.
Were you involved in any demonstrations?
One. And that was that Easter Sunday when they marched out of what did we say? St. Paul. I marched.
What was that like? I mean, that was a big demonstration.
That was a big demonstration. Well, there was so many people till you just felt hypocritical if you just didn't get out there and walk with them.
Were you arrested?
No, I wasn't arrested. Sure was.
What did it feel like being, after the speeches and all, and then you hit the pavement? What was that experience like?
I think it showed you the power of the movement. You just didn't care. You just read it, whatever. And I can see why the young people went, really. It's just something, it was motivational.
Now, many of the students would leave school or they wouldn't come to school, come right down to this part of the downtown and demonstrate. You as a teacher, did you attempt to discourage them from being involved? Did you encourage them to get involved? Were you neutral in that regard?
Neutral. But I always wanted to know what happened. Never blocked anybody at my door. Because I had a lot of respect for George Bailey at the time. But I never stood in anybody's way. And I didn't want them to go back and say, Ms. Goree told me to go. So I was neutral. I didn't say don't go. And I never held my hand across the door. I never threatened anybody with a grave.
Did any of your students ever leave from your
empty classroom? Emptied the classroom. And came back telling me the news. We hugged.
So, in effect, you were really aiding and abetting.
Yeah, I was that confident lady. They come to let me tell you, we hugged and we talked and close that door. No class today. We're going to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
What happened last night? What happened? But never stood or blocked the door. Never jeopardized the point that I say go.
Right.
Because I didn't want it to get to the principal that I encouraged them to leave. But they needed no encouragement.
Right.
Because they just walked out.
Well, as a result of your involvement, your participation in the mass meetings, were there ever any threats toward you as far as your job is concerned?
No threats. No threats at all.
Then did many people who were teachers simply assume that there would have been some retaliation if they had gotten involved, or were there actual retaliations for some of the teachers?
I think retaliation is just a word they used. I think they left it to those people. You know how we separate ourselves.
That's it.
Okay. I can't believe they feared their jobs to that extent. Deep within, I just feel like they felt they were just, especially when I'm playing bridge or if I'm in a sorority meeting or if if I met Alderman the next day talking about it, you know, it was almost a turn up your nose sort of attitude. But yeah, I'll go ahead on.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So people were making determinations based upon.
You people, yeah. You know, that belongs to the other people. That's not for us.
So then was it a class thing?
Kind of a class thing. Even their children, for their children, you know. It was a class thing.
That's interesting.
I think that word, when people tell you I was frightened about my job, I think it really was class. I always felt it was sort of a class thing.
That's very interesting. And I've heard that before.
You hide behind the word retaliation, but no.
It was a decision that you made.
Decision you made, and they just didn't see the effort.
Right.
I mean, didn't see the purpose.